Hello, and you're very welcome to another JMac podcast. I'm Cavan, and of course, this podcast is sponsored by Orgaretro.com and Atak.ie. Use my promo code JMac podcast to get 15% off on Orgaretro.com and get the best skins, gloves, and equipment on Atak.ie. Be attack minded. And if you're liking what you're seeing, like and subscribe on YouTube. It is much appreciated because the support has been absolutely fantastic so far. So, thanks a million, guys. So, tonight I'm joined by former Tyrone All-Star Ryan McMenamin to talk about his career, the COVID situation, and his new role with the Cavan seniors. So really looking forward to chatting to Ricey tonight. So how are you keeping, Ricey?
Yeah, I'm keeping 100%, John. It's good to be on now. I just looking forward to it now. So.
Oh yeah, good stuff. And I suppose how's life with yourself? Obviously, news in recent weeks you've been selected as part of Mickey Graham's backer team for the year ahead, and hopefully the next couple of years it'll be great addition. You're a fantastic addition up in here, Cavan. So we welcome you with open arms. So what's the story with that? How are you keeping with all that? Or?
Yeah, look, I think it hasn't started at the minute now, and I think we're just putting the pieces together in here. I've been chatting to Mickey and Marty, and JD there, John Denning in there. So see, just looking back on what went on last year and how we can get better, and no, in fairness, everything's been positive. Spoke to a couple of the players, and it's been all positive, and I'm really looking, and I'm looking forward to getting stuck in, seeing with the Cavan lads now. So.
Absolutely right, absolutely. I suppose obviously when Mickey did come calling, was it a no-brainer for yourself? Obviously, because you did step down from Fermanagh job a couple of months ago. So was it a no-brainer for yourself? Did you really like the idea of maybe coming on and kind of sharing your knowledge with the Cavan lads?
I know. Look, in fairness, it probably came across a wee bit funny. I never, after I stepped down from Fermanagh, just had no wild intention of really doing anything. I was just going to take the year out and relaxing. And then I met Mickey in the weekend of the All-Ireland final. Just I think we're having a lot of beers and in the Boar's Head and down in Dublin. He made the point to me, maybe would ever think about it, and I got chatting him, for 5-10 minutes, and I look at we swapped numbers and we said, look, we'll chat later on during the week, And once we got chatting, then we had to sit down with him and Marty, just to see how our thoughts would pan out or what we felt, see going forward, could it work together? And one thing led to another, and he sold Hey Well, he didn't say sold Hey to me. Just look, it seemed a challenge, and look, you're always kind of as a coach, you're always kind of wanting to learn, And I've been lucky enough I've been with Rory Geller, and I've been with Paul McGaver as well. And then when you had Mickey Graham coming, looking. See a chance to work with them, you have to take these opportunities, and probably because I think we all can get better all the time, And I was once I sat down and chatted to Mickey and what sort of football man he was, it was a no-brainer after that, so.
Yeah, fair. Mickey's a hard man to say no to. And obviously, Ricey, we were talking off air about the challenges that will bring, because obviously Cavan were relegated to Division 4 this year, and obviously the Ulster campaign, it didn't go overly well for us. Obviously, yourself, Tyrone, knocked us out in the first round, so it's a big step ahead. Ricey, the only way basically is up. There's no going down anymore, so it's an exciting challenge. You have the prospect of a lot of difficult games, and I think it'll be harder than a lot of people think. So looking ahead, Ricey, Division 4, obviously Tyrone, yourself when you're playing for Tyrone, you're never down that far. You always had the great exclusive experience playing Division 1 and 2, but Division 4 it'll be something new for you, Ricey.
Yeah, look, it'll be something new, and look, again, you have to give all the teams down there respect, and I'm sure every team will be looking at ourselves and saying that probably that they love to hit the scalp, But no, we're just going to have to give the division as much respect as we can, and we have to get ourselves in the best possible shape and playing the best possible football. Come the last week in January, I think we're away to Leitrim. So look, they're going to get a bounce out of Andy Moran as well. So look, you take nothing for granted in this life, and usually it's very, very hard to go through any league unbeaten, and it can be very easy to go through the league without winning a game. So look, we've just got to take nothing for granted. I think last year showed that with Cavan, maybe whenever we showed maybe that probably we're expected to beat Wicklow and maybe stay up, and to probably come down, probably get shocked by Wicklow. It is what it is. You can't change it now, but we have a chance now to change the future, and that's probably getting a good start in the National League.
Yeah, definitely right, and one we're really looking forward to, and we can't wait for this season to start now, really. And obviously, Ricey, you did step down from Fermanagh in the last couple of months. So, what was all that experience like? Obviously, on you did give Rory a Gallagher before the years when you did take it on to yourself. But what did you make of that whole experience? Obviously, Fermanagh, it is kind of tough circumstances there, and obviously like a lot of players kind of opted in and opted out, and so it is quite tough for them in recent years. But what did you make of all that experience, Ricey, yourself?
No, look, it's fantastic. Again, probably when I first came in, I didn't expect to be in there for 4 years. I definitely didn't expect to be managing the team when I started off. But look, it was a great experience, and I think again you have to take these chances. Probably COVID coming in to start over my 2 years, and it probably didn't help, and probably wasn't. It wasn't the best. It wasn't the best start for me, probably, or wasn't the best start for my backroom team, because we didn't really have that chance, because I brought a few players in, I brought a few new faces into the backroom team, and probably we just didn't get a chance to gel. We were kind of going all right in the first half of the league, and then once the COVID and the break, then it kind of, wouldn't say fell apart, but we just weren't at ourselves probably when we came back in 2020, and then to start off again. Get the players again, probably back to maybe you were talking 6 weeks, 5 weeks before. All in all, probably you really only had out of 2 years football we're going, you really probably only had the players really on hand for the 4 months or 4.5 months. So it was a tough experience, but in fairness, it was one that it'll stand to me as a manager and as a coach. I don't think you'll get a tougher 2 years for that there. I think it was the same for it. It was the same for any manager, any management team, or even any county player. Like for the past 2 years has been very, very tough. Just trying to keep yourself in the best shape as possible, and not knowing when the football or hurling was going to start.
Definitely, Ricey, definitely. Obviously, you were given Rory Gallagher a hand in your first 2 years. So, what was Rory like to work with? Obviously, we have seen in recent weeks and recent months, obviously, absolutely fine with Derry, a very astute man, a very impressive man, and just an absolute maniac by football, Ricey. So, what was it like to work with Rory?
Yeah, Rory. He's very passionate about the football. I think maniac's a nice word to probably put on you, but no, look, he loves his football, and I was chatting him, and I was chatting him the night we won the club county final. He called into the town for a few beers, so he was down at the game. So I was chatting him there. But no, look, as I said, Rory, he's been in with Jim McGuinness, and he's took Donegal as well. So look, he came with a huge experience, and look, it was great to work with Rory. Like we'd be in contact maybe see once every couple of weeks, just for a sit down and chat about football, and just probably like it'd be a friend now, kind of. So, no, look, we enjoy football, but I think again you learnt a lot off Rory, and hopefully the same. He learnt a bit off me, but no, as I said, he's got Derry in great shape, and he's got Derry. He's lifted Derry to great heights. Probably should have beat Donegal last year, so you expect them to kick on, especially in Division 2 this year.
Absolutely. It's a very exciting project up in Derry for Rory. So all the best to him. And obviously Conor Glass is absolutely fine for the club at the minute. So all is looking up for Rory and Derry. So, and obviously Ricey, Tyrone are the All Ireland champions for 2021 as well. You're a very happy man, no doubt. And obviously Tyrone's first All Ireland win since 2008. You were part and parcel of that team. So a serious year for Tyrone, a tough year for Tyrone, but by God, they came out on top, Ricey.
Yeah, look, I think if you said to us, maybe even send any Tyrone person maybe at the end of June, was Tyrone going to win All Ireland, you probably wouldn't have thought it, especially after the Kerry defeat. But again, credit to the lads, they dug in probably when a lot of people were doubting them, and they kind of quietly went about their business. And they beat Cavan in the first round, and then when they met Donegal in the semi-final, they did a job, and they got through it without really tearing up much trees. And then if you look at the Ulster final, Monaghan could have equalised at the very end, or even went on and kicked it on, and there was chances in that second half Monaghan could have went on. But look, again, the boys grounded out. Again, it takes a lot to win a championship, you know, and I think a lot of people get obsessed maybe that you should be playing maybe champion football from the first round of the championship to the very end of the championship. It's impossible to do, to put that over 4 or 5 games to be playing top football. There's a lot of games you just have to ground out, and even if it is a bit nasty, even if it's not nice to watch, it's just all about getting over the line, especially with the last 2 years when it's been knockout. And I think in 2020, like Tyrone, like they played Donegal and Ballybuffet, and it was a harsh defeat for them, you know, like when they had chances to go on and maybe take a few. And I think this year when they played them in Brewster Park, Tyrone took their chances. They had a wee bit of luck, but again, I think every team needs a wee bit of luck whenever they go on a championship. But in fairness, with the COVID and everything, the lads really responded well. And look, I think probably it got one thing that it did do. It got the county behind the county team again. You know, maybe it had kind of drifted maybe the last 2 or 3 years, and that's not a slight on the boys, or it's not a slight on Mickey or the management. You know, it was just that it felt that it had drifted. And I think this was the first year that you really found flags were coming out. Everyone was really getting behind the boys, and whether that was due to the COVID episode or not, but I think just Tyrone supporters seemed to like a cause, and the boys gave us a cause during the summer.
Definitely, Ricey, definitely. What impressed you most about this Tyrone winning the All-Ireland? Because I was talking to Conor McAliskey and Kyle Coley in recent weeks, and they were just saying like all the stats and figures that the Tyrone lads were doing, even training really hard, and they were so impressed by the fitness levels of the whole Tyrone team, and it was just superb all year, Ricey. Just a serious year for Tyrone overall. But what impressed you most about him? Because some of the performances were fantastic. The All-Ireland final was probably one of the most complete performances I've seen in a final. But what did impress you most about them, Ricey?
I think probably what impressed most was, again, like they had a great tenacity, and I think it's been talked about the tenacity, it's been talked about the work rate of the team. Like you have to go back there, and then you do have to compliment the bench. I think near enough every game the bench came on and did something. Cavan McShane always came on. You had different players. Cavan did a job when he came on. Tyrone McCann came on, did a job. Everything. The bench always gave a lift. The bench always seemed to give a lift to the team whenever they needed it. And you looked at probably players maybe like Kieran McGeary. He was taken off maybe, I think, in the first game. He was poor against Cavan, and then he bounced back. He didn't sulk, he didn't hide behind it, you know, that he was taken off, and he was good. He bounced back, and he had a fantastic championship. So you have to probably what impressed me the most, in a long way of saying it, is it's just probably their tenacity and their bounce back ability. That the boys did take a lot of knocks in through the year, whatever, and they seem to come back even stronger for it. You know, you have to say fair play to them.
Serious here, and obviously we can touch on some of the players, the likes of Kieran McGeary, Conor Myler, Darren McCurry, Niall Morgan. Like a lot of them lads, absolutely terrific years. Ricey, and there's I know the player of the year is coming up soon, and there's a lot of Tyrone boys you could obviously mention in that category, Ricey. But some years for them boys.
Listen, it was a great year. Hank a lot, and it was probably fine maybe for all them 4 boys you mentioned. Well, bar that they've all stepped up, and they've all stepped out of probably our own shadows, and that I think we were very keen for them to step out, probably because I think they're bound to be sick of listening about the 2003, 2005, 2008 team, and it's always stuck about the team of the noughties, you know. We get fed up with it as well. Anytime you're chatting to any of them, we get fed up about it. You just want to see Tyrone go on and kick on. That's one of the things, and it felt like Conor Myler has probably come of age this year as well. Even though they have been in the panel for 3 or 4 years, and even with Kieran McGeary, the boys have stepped up, and Darren McCurry, he stepped up phenomenally this year. And it probably did start with the game against Cavan as well, that he had a superb game, and he carried it on. Even you go back again, he was poor in the first half against Kerry. I think Tom O'Sullivan would probably got on top of him, you know. But then Hank Darn, he produced a second half that he came up with 3 big scores at 3 different times, and he got a black card in the middle of it. So for him, usually before, maybe if he didn't have a good first half, Darren would be the first to say to you that he might have been looking over at the sideline, or as he mightn't have the confidence to go on. But for this year, whatever, his confidence was great and it bounced back. So like I'm happy for Darren, because he would have been in the panel near the tail end of my time in the panel, and Darren was always, as you can say, he was always a character, no matter what age was even the character. Now he wasn't backward about coming forward now.
Definitely right. I'd say you would have loved to mark him in a few of the trainings. You would have put manners on him, no doubt.
I was coming near the end. I was coming near the end of my time. I stayed away from boys like that. There, at that stage, maybe he could have been a young 18, 19-year-old. He was too quick for me at that stage, So I was coming near the edge. I was just kind of waiting. Maybe I'd wait my time and just slag him. Maybe that was the only time I was getting close to him. At that stage of my career.
Well, I tell you what, Ricey, some of them Tyrone boys at the minute, the Myler, McGeary's, I don't think anyone would catch up with them. They're just absolutely phenomenal athletes, and on to go to next year. They could be thereabouts once again. So it'll be onwards and upwards for Brian Dewar and Fergal Logan. But I suppose we could touch on your own career, Ricey. Obviously, you did win 5 Ulster titles, 3 All Irelands, 2 National Leagues, and an All Star to cap it all off. So Ricey, very, very impressive stuff for yourself, and obviously is a very decorated Tyrone team in the early noughties, and obviously you were referencing the history. It just goes on and on and on. But probably the proudest day of your life, Ricey.
Probably again. You look back at it, you're always probably one of the probably best days, proudest days. Probably was winning your first club. Probably would have been on. Now that didn't come to 2007, and if you look, probably winning, and then probably looking, I think winning the 2008 All Ireland, for me it was special. 2003 was great and it's going, but again, if you go back to the 2008 All Ireland, it was one just that we dogged out, that no one expected the one, and I think they're the specialist ones, the special days, and you feel more prouder. And probably even 2003, we had a fantastic squad. 2005. We had an absolutely unbelievable team and squad, and then if you look at 2008, we had an unbelievable squad and team, but we weren't playing well, and that's probably one of the proudest days for me for Tyrone anyway was when we won that All Ireland, probably against all the odds, when we've been probably written off in our own county, and we've been written off all over Ireland. We came through and won it, so. It's funny, but that's the way I feel about it, and I think it's maybe other ones will say the first time or different thing, but not. I really, really enjoyed the 2008 All Ireland.
Absolutely, and it was a special year. And obviously, starting off for Tyrone, Ricey, obviously in the early noughties for yourself, getting the ball rolling with them. Like, was this something you always wanted to do when you were a young lad, kind of play with the Tyrone senior footballers when you were playing with your club, Jamor? Was this something you always imagined doing, kind of watching on from the great players obviously Tyrone did have, but playing for Tyrone senior footballers, is this something you always wanted to do, Ricey?
Oh, look, I think it was always something you always wanted to do, and you always, even think any young cub in Tyrone that's playing football starting off, always want to play. And even if you're not playing, even when you're playing senior football for Tyrone, you always want to play Tyrone senior football, and that's the dream and that's the goal. And probably mines took a long way coming around. I didn't play minors, I didn't play on the 21s, so you kind of thought probably once it passed the 21 stage that it wouldn't be there. But no, Nick, you always harboured a dream, and you always kept on going. And lucky enough, my club form got me in maybe late 99, early 2000, so it got me in there, and it kind of took off from then. But I spent a good year. I spent a good year in the bench trying to get up the county, to get myself up the county standard, and probably get my lifestyle up the county standard as well. I took a bit of adjusting from maybe a club lifestyle maybe to a county lifestyle. So
100%. Obviously, how did you find that? Obviously, because we do see that the bands and players these days are absolutely huge, and obviously you were managing Fermanagh the last couple of years, and you're going to be part of Mickey Graham's backroom team for Cavan now next year. So how did you find that, Ricey? Because obviously we see so much demands, and some county teams are even back training now, and everything that goes with that, Ricey. So back then compared to now, Ricey, what was it like? Because obviously playing for the club, you're 2 nights a week, game at the weekend, but back then what was that like for you, Ricey?
Yeah, look, I think it was a shock to the system, and I think it has always been County's always been committed, and I think when I did start first coming in, I think I do mind Art McCrory having us in for we're doing aqua jogging on a Monday night and then a weight session and a weight session after it, and then we're training on a Tuesday running, and then we were out on a Thursday and then football on a Friday on a Saturday. So it took a while to get used to. Maybe you're out of the house 3 or 4 nights, and then you were. And I have to give Art one of the things that he was ahead of the game and always all the time. I do mean him preaching to us that listen, boys, every man's going to be doing weights, and we needed all doing weights at that time. Maybe in the late 90s, it was never really looked too much at. It was kind of going, well, I don't need weights to kick the ball over the bar, but Art was adamant that these weights is going to be the way forward and whatever, and he was adamant that you had that football was going to go to a different level with fitness wise or whatever. And to a certain extent, he was right that although we thought we were being professional in 2001, 2002, and in the noughties, and probably now at the minute it's as close as being professional as it's going to be. Men keep themselves in shape all year round, and you're probably going to look at another 10 years and you're probably going to think, well, we thought we were doing the thing right, but we're doing the thing right. I'd step the standard every higher. And look, and I think young fellas now and county players now, a lot of people enjoy keeping themselves in the shape, and a lot of people enjoy keeping themselves in good nick. And playing for the over 40s there, Tyrone there, like all the lads in us in great shape. Like we're all fit for the training. We all go, and I'm playing with big Conrad Quinn there, and he's 49 or 50, but he plays wing half forward, and he's up and down. He's up and down the pitch like a demon all day. Like so, I think the mindset's changed in a lot of people, and maybe I do find it. Maybe you do have a lot of pundits saying that the fun's going out of football and funds, but I do think that a lot of the pundits, some of them pundits are maybe from the 80s and the 90s, who's probably not really attuned maybe to what the young fellas' mindset is nowadays. Now, and everything changes, and the lads do enjoy themselves, but I do think there's a huge emphasis nowadays on your own health and well-being, and I think everyone knows that they have to keep themselves into some sort of shape anyway, coming into your midlife now that I'm coming into, but they do know at the same time that you do, if you want to play county football at the top level, you do have to do a considerable amount of work for it. And it took me a while at the start getting used. That was back in 99 or 2000, and then eventually the penny dropped then that if I knew myself that if I wanted to really make an effort or be in this team, that you had to do a lot of work. Maybe you had to do I personally probably had to do a lot of extra work on my own. Maybe because I never really did the gym or never did strength and conditioning, I had to put an emphasis on that there. And then I ended up, I loved doing it then, so it became more of a habit. But no, it took a while, and gladly I'm happy that I did it, so.
Mm-hmm. And of course, you did reference the Masters there a few weeks ago. Cavan won the plate and you won the All Ireland. We're talking about proud days. That surely is up there. You, Conor Gormley, Stephen O'Neill, rolling back the years, Ricey.
I weren't too bad. I only I can't forget Kieran Gurley as well. He got man of the match. If I didn't mention him, Gurley, he'd be on to me. And no, look, in fairness to boys, we only came into it the last 6-7 weeks. Some of the lads have been training away there. There's a fantastic panel of boys that all came in, and no, we've been training away. There was a great spirit in the bus coming back up the road anyway after the game. But no, it was great. It was great to be back playing with Stevie, and it was good to be back even with Conor and Gurley and even Owen Bradley. And I was lucky enough that a clubmate of my own, Barry Collins, was playing as well. He scored the goal that got us back into the game, and if I didn't mention that there, Barry wouldn't let me down the whole day as he felt he should have been man of the match, anytime I'm chatting him. But no, look, and it was a hugely enjoyable day, and even a hugely enjoyable probably back playing with a lot of the boys that you thought maybe that you wouldn't be playing with again, and no, it was nice. It was nice going in there, and even we were lucky enough to play along with Cormac McMenamin's brother Dolan, so. It was special in that way, and I was chatting to Cormac's father as well, mother was all down there, and the whole family. So it was nice that there, and it was not another All-Ireland for Tyrone, so we were happy.
Was there any GPS stats on the jerseys, or did just many stats at half time or full time?
No stats or GPS. They're not allowed. GPS is not allowed to that there. On that there. No, in fairness, it was a good standard of football. Like, and I think all the lads, I think a lot of the Dublin, I think there's a few Dublin fellas, and they're all staying playing senior football or intermediate or junior as well. And there's a lot of Tyrone lads still playing intermediate, and Conor Gormley is still playing senior. And like, you had 3 or 4 fellas still playing junior. So there was a good standard of football. And like, as I said, like, see, people are looking after each other even at club level now, and like that you do find a lot of fellas still playing in the late 30s in Tyrone, and even going on into the 40s playing it up at senior, intermediate, and junior level up in Tyrone. So fellas are enjoying it, and it's great to see.
That Stevie O'Neill lad looks like a bit of a prospect. Would he be one for Fergal Logan and Brian Dewar to look at for next year?
Stevie, he'll be all right. You know, he has to do a bit of work shooting off his weaker foot, you know, before I think he can get on. He can get on to the team.
Yeah. Sure. I think he made up for the Croke Park anyway, Ricey Juicy. Yeah, he took his out of a lot of holes. But what a player Stevie O'Neill was. One of the greats, as I say, and obviously Conor Gormley, Gervie as well. So class players, obviously, in representing Tyrone in the Masters. But obviously, referring back to yourself, Ricey, obviously 5 Ulster titles, the 3 All-Irelands, 2 National Leagues, and the All-Star. But obviously, you know, that All-Ireland win in 2003 really did get the ball rolling for that kind of group of players, that panel of players that Tyrone did have in the early noughties, Ricey. A special day for yourselves, and obviously littered with talent, littered with experience, and Croke Park, September, sun shining, you win a Sam. That's not a bad day at the office.
Yeah, it's not a bad day. And look, I think it was like a lot of people forget maybe, and I always go back to it, maybe a lot of the players were there in 2002 when we got beaten Croke Park by Sligo. So probably in the space of a year, we turned it around, and I think a lot of the players didn't forget that defeat against Sligo, and it was one of the drivers maybe for the year we had. And I know Mickey had come in, but I think Art and Eugene were doing a job, and they'd built the foundation, and Mickey had come in and topped it off. But it was kind of maybe a coming of age. And I think when we first came in, Mickey, he was more or less just he just put it on the line for a lot of fellas that excuses. A lot of the boys aren't playing youth football anymore. You aren't playing on the 21s. It's just like, boys, excuses have to stop here. The buck stops with you. He put a massive emphasis on the players taking ownership of how they play, and it's no one else's fault. Only if a player goes out and kicks the ball wide, it's not a manager's fault. And if you're not fit, you're not fit. Like, you don't come to training to get fit. You be fit to train, and it's one of Mickey's mantras that he put everything on us, that we had to be fit. And at that time, we only trained 1 day a week. We played once on a Thursday and then football and that, but we were expected to do your work away from it, whatever, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever. And he put a huge emphasis on it. And for us, it helped. It made a real freshness. And then once we got into February, then we went up to 2 nights a week. Once the league football started, we got up in the 2 weeks, and it gave us a freshness, but it probably gave a lot of the players like myself a realisation. Probably you have to put more into it. Maybe you have to put more into it to get more out of it. And I think that's what Tyrone did. And once we won that All-Ireland, it probably kickstarted a lot of things for Tyrone. Then, you know, we had an absolutely great decade.
Definitely, Ricey, definitely. Obviously, can you talk about that? Like, obviously, we'll touch on 05 and 08 in a couple of minutes, but obviously, kind of that, like, morale and kind of getting like that team really and base, and obviously Mickey Hart was at the helm of it all. But like, what was the kind of the team ethos like, and like the team drive and everything? Like, I was talking to Conor Gormley months ago about it all, and like the success that he did have in recent years, or like in years gone by. But like, what was it all like, Ricey, to be part of that kind of winning culture and that winning mentality? Because at the end of the day, you probably had some of the best players to ever play the game involved in that team.
Yeah, look, it was great, and you don't realise it. You don't realise the culture that you're in, or winning mentality that you until you step out of it, you know, and you kind of look down and then you just say to yourself, fuck, I will. See, that was good, like that was good, and you just didn't realise, even when you were at training, even when you were going, that training was, it became the norm, that training was training at a high level, it was playing at an intense level, and you found yourself then, if it wasn't training at a high level, you know, you were trying your best, then you'd ask yourself, why not, you know, and yeah, it became the norm that everything was going high level, high pushing, every man pushing hard. Sometimes when you take a step back and you look at it, and you just kind of saying to yourself, well, that was good, and you probably didn't realise it at the time. It's probably it's probably the best days of your life when you're training that high end competition. We were all real good friends, but at the same time, we all wanted to start on the team, and like we all backed each other. But it was a competition that drove us on, and it was just more or less when you're playing with Peter, when you're marking Peter Cavan or Stevie O'Neill, Owen Mulligan, Enda McGinley, or even Brian McGuigan, you know, you can only get better, you know. And them boys were flying, and every night if you look at Peter Cavan, he went 110 every night, like, and he maxed himself out, and he got stuck in going. And usually when you see something like that, when you see a player like that, and at that time we always looked up to Peter, and we looked up to Brian Duhur, and we looked up to Chris Lawn, and them boys every night, they just gave it 110%. There was no questions asked. And then you were kind of going, right, if these boys are doing that sort of level of work or that they're throwing themselves by training, so we should do the same. And then the whole thing just snowballed. Like, it was very, very easy to snowball then, and then you just find yourself, it is always high end training, and it was hugely enjoyable.
Absolutely. Obviously, referring back to that All-Ireland win in 2003, and it was the first one from 03, 05, and then 08. So obviously 3 fantastic wins for yourself. But the first one is always very special, Ricey. You know, it kind of caps off a fantastic year's work. It caps off hours and years of dedication and everything that goes with it. So Ricey, obviously when you were a young fella playing for Drumore, you hardly ever imagined winning. Well, you had dreams, but you know, to go up them steps off the Hogan stand, Ricey, it's a special feeling.
Yeah, for the first time especially, it's great. You're going up the steps, and it's great. You do probably think if you go back to the previous year in 2002, it seemed so far away, and it seemed you kind of went, it's never going to happen. And then seeing up the steps, you kind of go, it's just you've every sort of emotion going through your head. Like, but I think for me personally, it was just one of disbelief. I was kind of going, you just can't believe that you're here, you're doing it. And for me, like, you were more than happy for your club and your family, and because you probably knew that they were probably going to be proud of you being out. But it's a fantastic experience, and it's great to get up them steps, and it was just a pity we didn't get up a few more. But to me, it's special being the first one going up that there. But to me, it's hard to explain, because I never really thought too much of it as a child growing up the steps. I thought about winning it, but it was the furthest thing in my mind was going up the steps, and never going. And then once you get your hands on Sam Maguire, to me, it's, as you says, it's everything seems all completed and done, you know, and like it just seems to finish the here. Then you're in the high. Then you're in the high, and then you go in the change rooms and you go crazier then in the change rooms now.
100%, Royce. And obviously 2005 as well, is the year you won it for a second time, and like some of your top players are really coming to the fore. Is probably Peter Canavan's last year as a Tyrone footballer, and you know, his last time winning Sam Maguire. So you know, Peter Canavan was coming to the fore. He got the all-important goal in the All-Ireland final. A serious man to learn off. Muggsy was coming into his own as well. So 2005, you nearly kind of seen the change of the guard, to agree, because obviously it looked like kind of Muggsy was going to kind of step into Canavan's shoes, and obviously Stephen O'Neill was shooting lights out as well, Ricey. So you know, that Tyrone team really did. I know he's won the All-Ireland 2003, but I think in 05 was a really turn corner for saying, right, we're here now.
Yeah, look, again, we had some close shaves in 2005. We had 2 great games with Dublin. We had lost. We had 2 games with Armagh. which we lost, and we lost the replay. And look, we had a fantastic team, and it is one thing about the team, and Mickey, he gave the freedom to do what they wanted out in the pitch. And probably at that stage, we had a lot of players who were coming into their peak years. You had like Stevie, Brian, you had men like that, Enda McGinley, you had come to the fore. Conor Gormley at that stage now was one of the Ireland's best defenders. So he gave men some the freedom, and I think that's the way we played, and we were not, even when we drew with Dublin, maybe we lost, but we always just try to play good football going forward. I know we get slagged now for defense, but defensive football, which is something that we never really bought into. We always just thought we were a very hard working team, and if you look at any of our scores all down through that day, we're always very, very high scoring. But no, look, as I said, it was probably it was the year probably a lot of people like Stevie O'Neill stepped up fantastically, and he was player of the year, and it was one maybe even for Cormac, God rest him, that we knew he'd be part of that with us as well, and it's just what we want to do it for him, but at the same time we wanted to show the rest of the country what we were about, and I think we did that with the football we played.
Definitely right. And obviously, tell me about 2005, because obviously we always remember Mr. Mulligan's goal against the Dubs. Probably the best goal ever scored in Croke Park. You probably won't mind me saying that, but it was a serious year for yourselves. Ding dong battles against like Armagh. Armagh were at the peak of their powers as well, and obviously Dublin too. So tell me a bit about 2005, Ricey, because that was some journey to get to the game against Kerry in the final. So stiff tests and some of the toughest games you've ever played in your life.
Yeah, look, I think we even drew with Cavan. We drew with Cavan maybe in that year as well. Armagh probably the semi-final battle. Well, the final battle. Sorry, it was probably one of them games. Armagh was at the peak, as you said. Armagh was at the peak. Kerry's at the peak, and us and Armagh were just constantly going at each other. Either Biggar and Ulster, and I think we had control of the game out of the first game, and we lost it. We let Armagh sneak back into it, and even in the second game, I think probably Armagh were probably the better team on the day. They probably felt that it was a nail in their coffin. We probably what saved us, that we decided as a team would stay down, we'd go out in Dublin that night together, and we got the county board to book us an hotel as we were meant to head back up the road. So we decided we'd stay. In fairness, county board backed us, and we had a good night and all, even with Mickey and all. Mickey and in fairness, the crack was good. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. Not the snowball, but it was the sort of thing that the team needed. We got the Armagh defeat out of the way, and I think we spoke about it. We spoke at a meeting after the game in the Castle Knock before we all went out. And the players more or less it was Ulster Championships done. We're now in the All Ireland series, and I think that was one of the main sets of Tyrone, was that the fact that we were very good at, if we got knocked out of Ulster, we would just immediately turn and say, right, that's one competition gone. We can move on to the next competition. And we were lucky enough, we were able to move on to Monaghan, and then we kicked on. We had 2 great games against the Dubs, which are fantastic. They're fantastic to play in a full house against Dublin's always good. And then, as I said, Muggsy scored that great goal. Now, from eyes watching from behind, I do mind thinking he was over carrying it. I was panicking. I was shouting at him. I was shouting at him whether he listened to whether he could have heard me or not. Was just pass it and take the point. So I'm kind of glad he didn't do it. But no, fantastic goal, and I think that goal kind of got Muggsy back going again in the football. It got him. It kicked off his season as well.
Absolutely, and obviously pushing on to the final against Kerry in 2005, and Kerry star-study team, Gooch, obviously all the O'Shea brothers, and just like Darrow, Canada, really just the top class players, some of the best players. You're pitting yourself against them, Rice, and obviously you probably had the joy of marking Colin the Gooch Cooper, one of the best players we've seen grace Croke Park, Rice. So to get over the line against Kerry, like Tyrone normally always seem to do Croke Park in recent years, Rice, in 2005 it was a really special feeling. Yeah,
look, I think we'd beat them in 2003 in the semi-final, and I think there's from then on there's always a wee bit of aggro in the league, and always won that. But we always look forward to beating them or meeting them. I was chatting to Tomas O'Shea when we were on about the final in that 2005, but I couldn't believe how many high ball that Kerry driven that day. You know, they just driven all of a sudden. I was lucky or unlucky enough to be marking the Gooch, and he scored two very quick points. As I said, he's a handful of mark. But again, that Kerry team, if you just look at the names on the team, you know what, they were absolutely fantastic team. You know, and they were probably at the peak of their powers in around 2005 as well. So for us, it was a great game, and for us, like, we never had no fear of Kerry. We respected them, but it was a great game of football. I'll be honest, the game went as a blur, like, more than anything else. I do only mind bits and pieces of it, you know, but it was just one of them games when you were playing it, you were enjoying it, but not enjoying it. And it was just you actually didn't know what way the game was going to go, and you were looking at. I think they got a good start, and we got the goal just before half time. It kind of rocked them back in the heels, and then we grew into the second half, and it was just one of them games. We had no doubt in our ability as a football team, and we thought if we can play football, we're going to beat them. See, no matter who they have, you know. And see, on that day, for some reason we always seem to come out on top against them, but I'll always take it.
And obviously, like, the preparation that goes into, like, playing the likes of Kerry in an All-Ireland final, and there is so much preparation that does go into it. When you kind of see all that kind of going right on the day, right, you know, there is so much luck involved. But, you know, when the little things go your way, you get a lucky goal, you get like a lot of points and all that kind of jazz. Like, when the little things go your way in a final, right, see, years of hard work, as I referenced a couple of minutes ago, it must be such a good feeling, right, because there is so much hard work, dedication, hours, application, everything goes into winning All Ireland. When them things go right, see, it must be some feeling.
Yeah, it's great, and I think when they go wrong, it's even worse. when the ball bounces off the post, it goes wide, or you slip and a man goes through for a goal. It is, look, again, it's a very fine line. It's a very, very fine line, and sometimes people don't realise it looking in from the sidelines or looking from the stands. It's a very, very fine line, and no player goes out to play bad, and no player goes out to make mistakes. What's going to happen in 75 minutes of a game, you're not going to make a mistake on it. But no, look, it's great when everything works out great. It's probably the best feeling in the world, because you can go and say how our tactics went well, and then you make a couple of mistakes and you lose the game. They'll say the tactics went wrong. But as I said, like, it's a fine line between winning and losing, and it's a fine line. And people don't see, when you win that All Ireland, you've had a fair amount of luck, and you're always going to need luck, I think, to win anything. And I think in Tyrone we did have a bit of luck, and we kicked on. But at the same time, I'm a firm believer, if you work hard, you do earn your own luck. And if you work hard and you put the work down, you do usually get your just rewards. It mightn't be. We got it in 05, we didn't get it in 06, we didn't get it in 07, then we got it back in 08. So I've had more bad days than good days in football, so I'm easy enough about it. I'm big enough to understand that I'm not going to be like Tyrone are ever going to be like Dublin, that they were in the 10s there, that won 7-8 in a row. Probably wasn't their style to be as robotic, but I think we like them with a wee bit of flair. But again, I've nothing but praise for the Dublin boys. They're absolutely fantastic. Paul Mannion, even Bernard Brogan, Dean Rock, men like that there have been absolutely great servants, and still are great servants. But we've in Tyrone, we have nothing but respect for Dublin, like, and what they've did. But you look at 05, you do need luck, and even you look at Dublin against Mayo, that semi-final. Mayo got 2 own goals. There's wee small bits of luck all the time.
Right, 100%, absolutely. And unfortunately, Mayo can't seem to get any of that luck, so we'll just have to wait and see. I don't know, will me and you be live for when the win is on, but God knows. And obviously, pushing on to 2008, Ricey, another All-Ireland for yourselves. And as I said, that was probably like years of hard work, getting that team together, getting that team right. Sean Cavan had probably the best year of his life, and you were all just absolutely flying. You were rocking the beers to the final. Everything was just going in place for you, and just a special day at the office. And you've done the number in Kerry once again.
Yeah, it was special. Probably if you look back, we had a poor Ulster. We got knocked out after the replay against Down. We didn't play well in the qualifiers at all. We dragged out a couple of games. Desi Dolan missed a chance against us in Westmeath to beat us maybe, and he dragged it wide. I don't know how he dragged it wide. And then we just more or less would just clawed our way through until we played Dublin in the semi-final, where we were expected to get beat. But we had trained. I think I've said it before. We had trained really, really well. We had trained we had a 2-week break, and we trained really, really well. We had a couple of days off, and then we trained Thursday, Saturday. We had a weekend away, and we trained really. It was the best we trained all year, and we were in just there for an ambush. Then I think we were primed, and once we beat Dublin, we knew it was going to take a very good team. The swagger got up on us, and we knew it was going to take a good team. And we went down to Kerry, and again, Kerry were going for 3 in a row, and I think we kind of relished the opportunity that we were going to be the party poopers again, and stopping Kerry winning 3 in a row, and probably in a wee bit in the back of Kerry's head, we were probably the last team that they wanted to see come and play in a final. They'd probably not admit that, but probably you're looking at it now, and if you look at the Kerry team for the names, and you look at our team that we had, we might have the same stellar names as we had in 05, but we had a lot of good players, and we had a lot of good players who worked really, really hard, and we really gelled as a team. And maybe 05, we had Stevie, Peter, men like that pulling it out, Muggsy pulling out of the bag first, and then 08 with my own club man, Collie McCullough, was a fantastic player. He pulled it out of the bag first, fantastic. Davy Hart, Tommy McGuigan, men like that there, men who were really, really good footballers. They mightn't have had the national acclaim, but they were hugely respected in Tyrone club football, and they were hugely respected in the group. And we just gelled, and probably Kerry they might have been looking maybe at the names and not the team. So we were, again, as I said, we were more than happy to be the party poopers and see win our 3rd All-Ireland.
100% right. And so kind of tell me about that kind of stage mentality, because there was definitely stage mentality with this year. Obviously, COVID struck it up in Tyrone, and obviously they did get over the line against Kerry by a point, so in the semi-final. But what's that kind of stage mentality like? So obviously when you were being written off, that obviously suits the team down to the ground. A lot of teams, especially Tyrone. So he's obviously had a very strong team in 2008, but it wasn't really a team of individuals. Just had a very collectively strong team. So what was like the kind of training like? What was the kind of mentality like for that year, right? Because at the end of the day, you probably didn't have a strong team as 05 and 08, or sorry, 03 and 05, but you still had a very good panel of players.
Yeah, we did with a fantastic panel. It's just, look, the results didn't go with us. I know 08. Probably if you look at Ulster, we were poor, and then with the qualifiers, we were even worse. And we were just dragging it through the games. There was games with luck. But then within the group, the mentality was very good. It was saying, look, we can get these results. And we played Mayo in round 4 down in Croke Park, and we came through by a point. And I'll never forget, there was people after, once they found out we were playing Dublin, they were saying that Tyrone team is not going to go anywhere. But we had been training collectively very, very well. We've been training hard. But I'll never forget, Monday night we met Mickey. We met him in the group met in the Glenavon, and he showed us a video. He took us in before the training, and he showed us a video of if we'd have scored these points, all the good points. And he says, boys, no wild harm. He says, we're one pass away from giving a team an awful hammer. And he says, believe me, he says, we're very, very close to giving a team some hammering here. He says, we're just about to explode. And he says, you watch this here. So the fellas, we walked out of the meeting, and we're kind of going, geez, so we are. You know, if it took them chances. I mean, chatting to Pete Donnelly, and he goes, geez, we missed some chances. He says, but we did a lot. And Mickey was great for always pointing out the good. And he said, Mickey was content with saying, look, boys, this is what it is. Our defend was top notch. He says, any team that defends like that there is a good team. And it built on then. We trained really well. And then, plus we knew probably outside, the negativity probably within the county was we were going to get beat. We had heard rumours of club championships was going to start soon, and everything was going to start once thrown. And we'd kind of been slowly building up that mentality. And then with the beards growing as well, it kind of kicked it. Well, I'm still growing it right enough, but it kind of kicked up. It kind of kicked on off. It was kind of the boys were saying, right, fuck it, we're not gonna mess about here. He goes, anything we do it for ourselves. And he goes, whatever has to be done, we're gonna dog it out here. In fairness, that day, once we came down to pit Dublin, I think we were laughing. Mickey was right. He said the team was going to get a hammer now. I didn't think it was going to be Dublin was going to get that hammer, but we got the hammer, and I think it more or less. I think just Dublin couldn't believe probably the ferocity that we came at them with, because we had been playing 3-4 weeks in the Throp, and we just built up, and we were just ready for the game, like, and while they'd maybe had a coasted through Leinster, and then while we came through a couple of battles, we were away at different county grounds, away all around the country, and then, but at that stage we were teak tough and ready, and then Wexford, they upset Armagh, and we had Wexford in the semi-final, and we said once we got through to a final, I think again it's that siege mentality kicked in. Like siege mentality kicked on through. I think as Tyrone wants to get to a final, they kind of feel they're going to win a final. Like once we're there, we're going to win, and especially when it came up against Kerry, and as I said before, it was just that mentality. Maybe probably in the back of their heads, Kerry didn't want us, but when you had an opportunity to stop Kerry 1-3 in a row, everything goes. And like when you yourselves, we always raised our game for Kerry. If we raised it 20-25%, it just happens. Sometimes you do it, and I'm sure they're cursing it, but it just seems to happen with Tyrone teams. Whenever they see the green and gold, they do raise the game.
Absolutely right. We've seen that this year once again, and it paid great dividends. And kind of pushing on from them years, obviously, Ricey, and involved in them years as well. 5 Ulster titles as well. Seriously impressive stuff to have that in your CV as well, Ricey. So 5 Ulster titles in a very, very competitive province, probably the toughest province to win these days. And obviously, it's probably only for the Ulster these days. It'll be a very boring province system that we do have. But 5 Ulster titles, Ricey, still very impressive stuff.
Yeah, look, I think it was nice at that stage too. I think Armagh was probably, again, it was ourselves and Armagh, must have been for the whole of the decade. Just the two of us were I think Armagh won it too. We stopped Armagh in 2001 from 1-3 in a row. And then it was between us and Armagh. Then Armagh, we won, I think they won 0-2, we won 0-3. And then they won 0-4, 0-5, 0-6. We came back 0-7. Then we took 9 and 10 as well. And look, it was competitive. It was always competitive. It was always good. That you're always battling and with Armagh. Probably the two teams kept each other at a good level. That we always knew we were going to meet each other either in the final or semi-final, and whoever won it had a good chance. Like Ulster was a minefield. Donegal beat us in 0-4, Down beat us in 0-8. Like Ulster is just probably it's a crazy province just on how competitive it is, and you've only seen maybe down this last year or two, how competitive it is. People might look at the score lines and say, well, it's not that competitive, but it's a competitive province. And one thing about Ulster province is every team always tries to outbeat the other team, and it's always counties do push. They're very progressive counties, and they always try to push, and they always believe. I think every county in Ulster believes that they have a chance of winning it. I think that's the beauty of Ulster, that at the start of the year, from 1 to 9, they believe they have a chance, and I don't think you get that in every other county. It doesn't matter what division you're in, you believe you have a chance to win Ulster, and I don't think you'd get that down in Munster. I don't think you'd get it in Leinster, but it's just whatever the mentality is up here. We're a wee bit weird.
That's one way to call us, Ricey. That's one thing to call us. And obviously, how good the preparation was, all them Ulster campaigns for the All-Ireland Series race, because you did get your hands on it 5 times, but at the end of the day, you're playing very strong Donegal teams, Monaghan, Donegal, Cavan to a degree back in the early noughties races. So it was ideal preparation, really.
Yeah, look, it was great preparation. Look, you always enjoyed it because, look, at the same time, you always knew it was going to be a dogfight, and you always knew you had to be at the top of your game, and you always knew it was going to be rough. The referees let it go rough, and you enjoyed that certainty of it, and you enjoyed good in. And it was funny then because when you did go into the All Ireland Series, or you did go into the qualifiers, you found the football a lot more open, and it probably wasn't as claustrophobic, but I think all the players enjoyed it. Like they always, you knew you always had to be at the top of your game to play. Maybe in a qualifier you could get away all right, maybe, but on a very rare occasion. But in Ulster, if you weren't on your day one, it was lights out. So it was for learning for an All Ireland, going through semi-final Ireland, it was fantastic preparation.
And how proud are you of them 5 Ulster titles, right? Because it really is a serious achievement, because obviously nowadays it is very hard competition to win, but obviously you're littered with really good players back in the day with Tyrone. So 5 Ulster titles, it's a very proud thing to look back on, Ricey.
Yeah, look, 5 nice, it's 5 great, and again, at the start of your career, when I got the first one in 2001, I didn't think I'd have another 5, so another 4 on top of it. So look, it's great to win, especially a county like Ulster, and you always have great memories playing them, and probably some of your best memories is playing in the Ulster Championship, because all the players knew each other opposite to that, so there's always a bit of banter, there's always a bit of badness, and it's always enjoyable then, because maybe a night out in Belfast or whatever, you always a good chance of running into someone that you knew, so again, everything was put to the side then. It was just like there's one thing that the Ulster players probably, yes, we didn't like each other on the pitch or whatever, but if we met each other, we were 100%. But no, look, 5's fantastic, and I'm just happy to get them.
Absolutely right. And obviously, a stat I was nearly surprised by, one All-Star. I definitely would put you down for more, but obviously All-Stars, they're a funny business at the best of times. But a very proud day for yourself to win an All-Star. It's obviously a year of hard work. It's a hard year of dedication, and it really caps off a great year for yourself.
I think it's nice. It's a personal achievement. Wow. Yeah, look, I'll be honest, I never really bought too much into them. They're fantastic to have. I think the day after the All-Stars, I got the All-Stars, I had to give my All-Stars to my girlfriend. She was going up the road, so I was heading on a stag, to McCullough's stag, and that I was heading over to Birmingham on the stag on the All-Stars on the Friday, so, and then headed over to the stag on the Saturday morning, flew out from Dublin. So no, I enjoyed you enjoy getting them, and I didn't place too much value on them. Personally, it's a great thing to get, but I put my hand on my heart and never really, if I didn't get one, I wouldn't be too bothered, and I'm glad I did get one. But at the same, maybe it's easy for me to say that, but because I had one, and that's not taking the weight of any man that ever got anyone. That's just not for me. I just enjoyed playing, and I just enjoyed winning. And the personal accolades, they were nice at the time, but you knew in the back of your head that you needed the 35 boys behind you. Like, you wouldn't have got that only for the 35 boys.
Absolutely right. Absolutely. Obviously, we can touch briefly on your kind of style of play. Obviously, you're renowned for a tough defender, and I suppose you just liked a bit of crack in the field. Obviously, there was always a smile on your face. It's great to see during games, and you kind of you always have good crack to your opponents and stuff. So that kind of style of play that you did kind of bring to the field, Ricey, obviously it suited you, it suited Tyrone, but you kind of looked on the lighter side of life when you're playing for Tyrone at the best times.
I wouldn't say looked on the lighter side. Like,
it's a nice way of saying it, Ricey. I didn't want to offend you.
other people might disagree with that. Other people might maybe be nice to me about being saying it's on the lighter side. No, look, again, I think everyone's different. I think maybe most of the stuff kind of said about me or going out there, I think they're a wee bit away far off. But look, I can't change people's opinions, and I'm not going to change people's opinions. So I don't bother away doing it. No, look, in fairness, when I went out to play, I wanted to win, and I always made no excuse for that there. But I had a bit of banter, I had a bit of crack on the field, and it was always enjoyable. Now you could always get a few. You could have a good crack with Pat McMenamin, the referee, and different ones there. But it was it was enjoyable playing. That's the way I played. I kind of played in the edge. Sometimes it got me into a lot of trouble. Other times it didn't get me into trouble, and then other times I got away with it a lot of times. And I think if everyone played the same, you would probably it'd be a boring enough sport. You think think you need an odd lunatic every so often, maybe to come across into the pitch, But no, look, I enjoyed it, whatever. I think now there was a lot worse than me floating about, and they didn't get the same headlines, maybe.
Absolutely, Royston. I'm just interested to kind of get your thoughts on that at the minute as well, and I suppose it's a loaded enough question, but what's the kind of views on the game at the minute? Because we don't really probably see characters like yourself these days. Obviously, we've seen like changes to kind of step aside the likes of Jeremy Connolly recent years and so class acts. So we're not really kind of seeing them kind of players about these days. It's probably gone very robotic to a degree, Ricey. So there's not maybe lads will take a chance, smiling on the field of play. You've seen Jack McCaffrey before the All Ireland final in '19, just smiling in the pre-match warm up and stuff and having the crack. So what's your thoughts on that at this current minute in present time? Like, I know you're involved still, but what would be your views on that?
No, look, I do think it's probably you're going to have a lot of people now. I think a lot of young fellas, they are more aware. Probably when I played, there was no social media floating about, and I think we have to be aware of that. That they are like, if a lad does anything now in the field, or he does, or goes, or a lady does anything on the field now, or whatever, they're ridiculed all around social media. Like, again, that's not a nice place to be for people at that. And people say that I do think there is characters in there. There is a lot of characters. See, once you're chatting them, there are characters. But I do think in the back of the mind, people are aware of just maybe you can get a lot of grief on social media if they're on social media. If they make a mistake or a late challenge or a high challenge or get sent off, I think they're subject to a lot of abuse. They're people in the media, or not in the media, but people. I think there's people behind the game. You've a lot of keyboard warriors now, and a lot of people think Twitter's a great show. Well, I'm not on it, but I think everyone's opinion's right on it. So and it's tough for people because like a lot of people you have a lot of people who are teachers. If you go back and teaching a class on a Monday morning, and something happened with you in the championship match on a Sunday, it's going to be all over social media. It's all going to be over WhatsApp groups. It's a tough place, and I think that's a lot of the do with it. Why people mightn't. Maybe the game's cleaned up. Maybe I've calmed down a bit, or everyone's calmed down. But the characters is there. But I do think a lot of people just. I'm aware, like, the social media aspect of it. It's tough on players this day at this time of year.
Absolutely right. Absolutely. Obviously, just get your thoughts briefly on Proposal B not getting in a couple of weeks ago, and there was so much media coverage on it. Every media outlet was doing great work on it, and a lot of people's heads were probably fried by the end of the races. So, what was your views on all of it? Like, were you surprised it didn't get in, or would you have been on for Proposal B coming in?
Look, I was on. Like, I was definitely on for change. I was definitely on for change of some description of it. I just probably the thing that didn't stand with me is that they were going to put through Proposal B, and a lot of people that were saying wanted Proposal B, and even the people that had come up with Proposal B, they said themselves, like, it's not perfect. So, but we'll push it on through anyway. And I think that's just it's a complete Irish thing. And, like, it's not perfect, but we'll fix it after. Like, instead of sitting down and kind of going, right, what isn't perfect about it, and say, right, these points are perfect on it, right, how do we make it better? And then, like, we were doing away, I know they were saying that we had the National League. National League's a fantastic competition. Like, there is no, like, I would have thought Proposal B, one of the benefits of it, if you'd have said to that the Ulster winners, Ulster finalists, they get an automatic spot or whatever in the last 12 or last quarterfinals, I think it would have went through. But I think a lot of teams maybe that grafted, maybe that a team that could finish maybe third in Division 2 will be playing football, but a team that finished sixth in Division 1 when you're playing a higher level of football, to me it's funny that it wasn't, but it was just the fact that it wasn't right. I know people said that you're not going to get it right, but the people that proposed it knew it wasn't perfect. That kind of annoyed me, kind of going, if it's not perfect, then why was it put as a proposal? And, like, I think now, like, you kind of have a blank canvas. There is an urge for especially Ulster province, and to keep for me, I enjoy the provinces. I think they should be kept, but there has to be. I think there has to be a common ground. Maybe we can use a blank canvas approach and see where it takes us, and try to get something that fits for all, and hopefully it can, you know. But that's my thoughts and proposal. I do know that there is a want for change, and I think the players do want change because they are the main stakeholders in this here. We have to give them change, but it has to be something that I think there's no point going down the road and then after 3 years saying, oh, well, that was crap. We'll go back to, we'll change this. For constantly meddling with the game, it's not going to look good. Like.
100% right. And obviously the biggest example we can use is obviously Leitrim's game this summer against Mayo, and Mayo gave them an absolute tank and there's no getting away from it. And Leitrim left with their tails between their legs. It's done them no good, it done Mayo no good. So it's probably the perfect example for a call for change. And unfortunately, Ricey, we're going to have to wait another while for it.
Yeah, look, we're going to have to wait. Look, I think even with Proposal B, you were still going to get, like, Mayo was still going to meet Leitrim in a Connacht championship. They would have got their hammering in the Comet. They would have got their, you don't think they get their hammering, but they're going to be playing Mayo, Galway in the round robin. They're going to play in the league, and they're going to say, right, if they play in the league with the 7 teams down there, and if they don't qualify, they still have their one game in a knockout championship with the Talon Cup. If they get beat, have they improved? But I don't know. I would just like to say it's hard to know. It's hard to put your finger on it. Beatings are still going to happen. Now, however, I do honestly think with the way the gap is, with COVID has affected the smaller counties in a lot harder way with resources and going, and because they haven't been training at a high level that they would have been consistently, then smaller counties have found it harder to get up the stage as maybe the bigger counties who have been playing, who have consistently playing in a high level and who have been training at a high spec. So that's probably a look at that counties have to look at, and GAA has to look at, that COVID has really affected probably counties that would have been training consistently well, consistently hard, then all of a sudden they're stopping. That's something that has to be looked at.
And kind of the last thing on it as well, Ricey, you have the likes of, I think 3 Carlow players have retired now in the last couple of days, and you're seeing the likes of Dublin lads kind of stepping away and nearly getting bored of winning. So what kind of hope does that give the likes of Carlow, Leitrim and Waterford and these kind of gents setting off for the year ahead, when you have the likes of the Dubs and some Mayo lads maybe just stepping away and just maybe getting sick of winning or that kind of stuff, Ricey? So it doesn't bode too well for the future.
It doesn't bode. Look, and I think that's why we need change. Look, and I do think we need change. And I'll just go back. Like if we can get something that's perfect without, and it mightn't happen, and it mightn't go, but you like something that everyone can agree on or broadly agree on. Say, right, that's good, and go forward. But it's always been the same. Maybe Dublin of the Dublin juggernaut has killed Leinster. I think they've come back to the crowd a bit, but it's always been the same down through the history of the GAA. It's always been the same. I don't know if Waterford's won a senior, like a Munster senior. I don't know if Carlow's won. I know Leitrim has just won 2. Tyrone didn't win their first All Ireland at 2003. They'd have been in the 2 finals. If you look in the history, Tyrone's they've only participated in 6 or 7 All Ireland finals in the whole history. So the thing not being fair has always been hearing in the GAA, and maybe now it's been highlighted. Now people are highlighting, and it's rightly been highlighted. If you look at the top 2 teams, it's Kerry and Dublin by some mile. So that has to be addressed. And how we're going forward. It is tough. It's very, very tough. But you would like to think that if there is a plan in the future for 2023, that fellas are going to buy in and go. People always want to play for their county because there's fantastic love for it, and there's fantastic going. As it says, they do want to try to play against the best from other counties, and they kick on. It's tough, I know, down probably in Leinster when you have Dublin. So probably we're blessed up here in Ulster that you've everyone just mad for it. Like, just that they can believe they won the name, but believe they can win it.
100%, Ricey, 100%. Nice, easy question for you to finish off. Who would be the best player you played with and against over the years, Ricey?
Best player played with, probably you wouldn't know it. He's from clubman of my own, Tommy Fittis. He was unbelievable. TF, very, very good, unbelievable forward. He had played for Tyrone in the early 80s. I was lucky to play with him in the tail end of my career. And the best player I came up against, club level, would have been Stevie O'Neill or Peter Cavan. At county level, Stevie McDonald.
Absolutely, some great battles. And last thing on it, Ricey, there's a young Ricey McMenamin trying to make the breakthrough around the county or anywhere at all, nationwide. What would be the bit of advice you give them to kind of make that breakthrough or that next step up?
Just keep the head down and work hard. There's nothing else you can do about it. Just keep the head down, and whatever the manager or coach says, just do it. And, that's all you have to do. Hard work, and it's in your hands.
Absolutely, Ricey, absolutely. Well, Ricey McMenamin, thanks a million for joining me this week. And of course, this podcast is sponsored by orgaretro.com and Atak.ie. Use my promo code JMac podcast to get 15% off on orgaretro.com and get the best skins, gloves, and equipment on Atak.ie. Be attack minded. And if you're liking what you're seeing, like and subscribe. Ricey, best of luck next year with Cavan. It's an absolute privilege to have you up, and thanks a million for joining me.
Thanks very much, John. See you later.
Cheers, Ricey.